Seen some things from the major media about gun control and a low murder rate in Japan. The murder rate in Japan has been decreasing since the 50s, and the major media likes to say it's because of the lack of guns, but I'm going to point some other things out, and I'm not going to go on to mention other countries, and it's pretty obvious. There are a number of other countries with pretty strict gun control laws that still have higher murder rates than the United States, and it's not to do with why the murder rate is higher than gun. It has nothing to do with gun control at all, actually. In Japan, I can tell you, well, it's not uncommon, or it's not as uncommon as other countries. There is a large amount of integrity and honor just amongst Japanese citizens as a whole compared to other countries. That's one thing. You can lose your wallet in Japan, and it would not be that unusual to have it returned to you fully intact with all your cash inside and all your belongings and all that type of stuff. There's just a lot less crime in Japan. As a matter of fact, there's a lot less vandalism. I mean, there is vandalism, there is problems, no country's a utopia, but the whole country as a whole has a hell of a lot less crime than many other countries. As a matter of fact, like if you look at, like if you park a bicycle someplace, will somebody steal your bicycle? No. Do that in New York City. You know, they used to have the kryptonite U-lock. It was under warranty everywhere. I remember this is a while ago. Maybe it's old history now, but now that, you know, they didn't warranty it, except now they get the NFL lock. Now they can warranty in New York. You know, that's just the big city. The big cities like that. You'll find a hell of a lot less problems like that in Japan. You could walk down alleyways drunk at night. You won't have a problem. Largely, you will not have a problem. There's people that sleep drunk maybe on a weekend, you know, on a Sunday or something like that. I mean, on a Saturday into Sunday, and nobody's going to accost them, steal their wallet or anything like that. They leave them alone. That's because in the society itself, there's taught to be a lot of respect for others. But another thing Japan has developed is amongst all Western nations, Japan has a hell of a lot more equality than other industrial nations. In other words, there isn't as much a big disparity between the rich and poor in the middle class in Japan as there is between the classes in other countries, the financial classes in other countries. Like, for instance, in the United States, if you look over the last 5 years or so, you know, people complain about the 1%. Actually, it's not even the 1% that have gained exponentially well. The 1% as a whole pretty much haven't moved forward at all in their wealth holdings. It's actually the 1 basis point, the 1/100th, the 1% of 1%. So there's becoming a lot more disparity between rich and poor in the United States. In Russia, you know, I guess I'll mention one country there. There's a higher murder rate than in the United States. There's maybe not a higher incarceration rate, but there's a higher murder rate, and they don't have that many gun control laws, but they have more gun control laws than the United States as a whole, for sure. There's no doubt about it. I guess I'll mention another country, UK. They increased their gun control laws, and the murder rate didn't go down. So what's going on? Actually, in Japan, it's, I'm going to tell you, it's really, I think, a lot, not only is it the respect and the moral code in a homogeneous society, it's also the there's less inequality between people. There's actually a much stronger middle class in Japan than there is in other in industrialized countries in the West. And as we move away from this strong middle class and we become into, you know, the wealthier, the extreme 1%, not the 1%, actually the 1% of 1% becomes more wealthy, and the rest of everybody has less money, and, you know, the 1 basis point becomes exponentially more wealthy. It actually becomes almost like rats in a cage, you know, and that's where people lose respect for each other. There's less to go around. There's less free time. And you know, I guess you can't even say in Japan there's more free time, but there's more of a work ethic. There's more of a code of honor, more of a code of honesty. There's more of a code of respect to others. That's just like that ingrained in the society. So it's not. It really has nothing to do with the gun control laws. Actually, in Japan, the one thing in my opinion, that is actually encouraging violence and wrecking the Japanese moral code from not destroying it completely. I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it's it's whittling it down a little bit. It's actually one big export from the United States, and that is actually Hollywood movies. Hollywood movies is actually destroying the fabric of, helping destroy it. It's not totally destroying it, but it's helping to destroy the fabric of Japanese society in that code of honor. It's like glorifying wrongdoing all the time. You know, it's glorifying being lazy and cheating. You know, that type of stuff. You see this all the time in Hollywood movies. It's pretty much a common theme. It's like a big joke, you know. And actually that's contributed greatly to the American society too. You know, they teach it that way. So actually in Japan, it has really nothing at all to do with gun control laws at all. I mean, it's absolutely nothing. You know, you can even argue this. You know, martial arts, maybe there's not gun control laws, but there are a great deal more people that are involved in martial arts. There's people that know how to use a simple stick as a weapon, or to use their hands as a weapon. They know more and more moves. They're not actually in Japan. They are not taught the same way with martial arts. There's almost like a different attitude. It's almost a art form. It's a type of discipline. There is taught a lot of respect for people. And sometimes people in the United States, they go into martial arts. It's not really that popular in the United States, but some of the people, not all of them, but some of the people want to go into martial arts in the United States just to be a badass, to destroy somebody, to show that they're better or tougher than other people. That is like totally the opposite of the Japanese code. There's a lot of respect towards other people. It's actually more defensive in nature. And actually some of the martial arts are, some of the most aggressive martial arts were actually formed in Japan. If you think about it, some of the most aggressive martial arts that actually, I'm not that familiar with. I know some of it, but I'm not that familiar with it. But I do know, and I don't want to even say the name because I'm going to screw up the way I say it. But there's a type of martial art in Japan that actually takes various forms of martial arts and they incorporate it into one. But that doesn't mean somebody goes and walks around with a chip on their shoulder that they know all this stuff. In other words, there's plenty of people in Japan that know how to kill you with their fist, with one shot, and it's almost as if they're walking around openly armed. But did they do that? No. Did they do that with foreigners or anything? No. So it has nothing to do, nothing at all to do with the gun control laws. And major media is trying to push this on the American society. Now, I could say one thing I think that would actually minimize crime in the United States is to go back to the old code. Respect for others, respect for other people's properties, integrity, hard work, and building up the middle class again, and getting back to productive industrial enterprises that could be started with small businesses without all the government red tape. That would actually put a big dampener on crime, because actually when people have the ability to get anything they want by just working hard, a lot of times people will go with that route. They will go with that route, especially if it's a matter of a code of honor that's instilled in you, that you will just work harder to gain more, and you will not take it from somebody else. You will benefit for yourself, and you will benefit up for others by producing something that they need. And in other words, it's the good of mankind all the way around. And that's actually that has a lot to do with the way the Japanese think. They're industrious, they're hardworking, and they respect other people. They may be somewhat of a homogeneous, closed society a little bit, but they have a great deal of respect and courtesy to all foreigners. They do that. So, I just have to point this out because it's something that the major media throws an argument out there, and it's ludicrous. It may hold water with the wishy-washy, feel-good type people in the United States that want a quick solution to why the crime rate is going up or whatever, or what's the answer to a higher murder rate, or actually the murder rate in the United States is actually going down, but people will be worried about that. But it has really nothing to do with that, with the gun control issue at all. It really has to do with respect for others. And like I said, pretty much it's very much very common for Japanese to just children to learn martial arts. If they wanted to be aggressive, they could be. They could very well be. They have the means to, and you know, it's without noise. It's stealthy. It's all the kinds of stuff. So, you know, it's untraceable. You know, if they wanted to be, they could actually be criminals if they wanted to be, because they do have the knowledge to do that. But that's not that's just like anything else. It all has to do with your moral code and the way you're taught for respect for others. And by and large, pretty much almost all the gun owners in the United States, or the legal gun owners, are that way. That is pretty much how it is. That's pretty much how it is. Time and time again, it's been proven that it's only certain type of people that probably wouldn't be allowed to have a gun in the first place that commit the crimes. But you know what happens? They get them and whatever. So if they didn't have a gun, they'd use something else. You know, they'd use a pipe or whatever the hell it is, or a sword, or make something, or whatever they would do. So it all has to do with, you know, also like I said too, and I'm repeating this, but it has a lot to do with, if you look amongst Western nations, there's more equality in Japan than pretty much almost all the industrialized Western nations, any of them, by far. There's not anywhere near the disparity between rich and poor in Japan as there is in other countries in the West. And that has a hell of a lot to do with it too, because I think people are taught in Japan to work together. The employers that even enrich themselves and get very wealthy, they will take care of their employees too. They will. They don't like think of themselves in a bubble. You know, that's another thing too. So you know, it's something like what's happening in the United States basically is bad karma, and Japan has good karma. So it doesn't matter if it's gun control or not. If Japan was loaded with guns, it wouldn't matter. Their murder rate would be very, very low, no matter what. It really has to do with the people, how they're taught, and and how they have respect for each other, and their industrial usage of their time. They actually try to, you know, they're workaholics. I mean, they work 6 days a week. They work 6 days a week in Japan. It's like almost like a code of honor to be working hard, and you know, and when it goes back to that in the United States again, the crime rate in the United States will plummet. It will. We need to go back to a strong middle class and code of honor and respect for each other again, and maybe throw out some of the corrupt Hollywood themes that are portrayed constantly in movies.